All right, hello. The time is 1:15 a.m. Oh my God. Sorry. There's a lot of terrorism, loud, Loud, with exclamation mark, loud, going on here, okay? So just please remember where I'm at and bear with me. All right. And I can't talk about it. So if it comes up on this, whether it's 1 feet from me or in the perimeter, sky or ground, like I have always done, we just keep narrating and pretend it's not happening. It's not because I like to pretend, it's that I am forbidden. So look up forbidden by definition. Okay, September 25th, 2025, 1:16 p.m. All right, this is how it goes. Little stuff and things. The night before 9/11 happened, okay, I always have a crucifix by my bed. It's not the crucifix that is more powerful than a loaded gun that I said verbatim when I prayed for Brian Cass, and the rest is history with the Cass legal firm. Okay? That crucifix is packed. It's in a very special place in my belongings. It's properly packed, and it is. That crucifix I got right before I met the heroes in 2017. I got it around 2016. Jesus helped me pick it out, okay? We know how I operate no matter what, no matter when. So I got that crucifix long time ago. And by 2025, that crucifix was more powerful than a loaded gun. You can feel it when you hold it. You can. So I'm very careful with it, and it's put somewhere very safe. The other crucifix that I have, I got when I was 32. Right when I got sober at 32, before I had my year and a half drinking binge, I went back out. It was just alcohol, but it taught me a big lesson about my personal reasons of why I do not want to ever relapse again, which is why I have like 15 years sober. I've lost count, but I will definitely do the dates and the AA birthday correctly, but I don't do it here, okay? When I do leave here, no matter what, no matter where I am and no matter what, I go to AA. I have to, even if I got to go a long ways to get to the meeting. No matter how I feel about what they're doing at present, I still go. And I still make sure that I do not relapse on alcohol, because I certainly don't want to end up like I was after my year and a half bender, okay? Which is why I have like 15 years sober or something insane at this point. All right. So the crucifix that I got from Israel, I got at 32 years old. I shipped it in. I ordered it. Jesus helped me pick that one out too. And I've had it ever since. Why the dark brown wood one is literally more powerful than a loaded weapon, there's significant reasons, but we can talk about that, another time. Both of them are immensely powerful and have protected my life. Okay? That's why I always have crucifixes near me. When I was, 22? Something like that. Anyways, when 9/11 hit, okay, 9/11, Al-Qaeda terrorists bombed the World Trade Centers. When that happened, I had my crucifix, one of them that I've had over the course of my life. It was a smaller crucifix. I remember exactly what it was. It was about 4 inches by 3 inches, a smaller dark wood crucifix. It was much like this one I have now, but this one I have now is 3 times bigger and indescribably powerful. I admit that. It's not my power. It's a power greater than myself, and that crucifix is more powerful than a loaded gun. That one is packed away. It's somewhere safe. Okay, so, but it was exactly almost exactly, not quite, you know, it's a different crucifix, but very similar to the one I have now. And it was by my bed the night before 9/11. Okay, and on 9/11, the night before, right before 9/11, before the Al Qaeda terrorists from Saudi Arabia, the ones that are to blame for this terrorist cell I'm sitting in today. I don't need to tell the good guys that fly over here with everything known to Air Force over my head. I'm not putting it down. It's just, let's move on. Facts on paper. That is what they do. I don't got to tell them about Al Qaeda here. Okay? I'm just telling the public something. So if I sound nonchalant, c'est la vie, flippant about freaking Air Force craft over my head, please understand. Okay, yes, let's move on. Okay, all right. Okay. So I'm sleeping in my bed in Des Moines, Washington. I'm living at Eric's house. Okay, I've been living there for about a good 2 years. I might have been 23, 2.5 years. I moved into Eric's house right before my birthday at 21. So this is my life story. We can skip that. We can tell my life story if anyone wants to be bored and hear it another time. But I'm back in my room, back in Des Moines, Washington State. Sound asleep. And before 9/11, before Al Qaeda terrorists attacked my sovereign territory in the United States, with my cross right by my bed, sound asleep, okay? With my goose down blanket, my goose down pillows. I didn't live like this, people. I didn't live with a cot in a terrorist compound. I didn't grow up in a terrorist compound, okay, people? So I had my nice fluffy bed. I'm young, I'm like 23, I'm sleeping soundly. Suddenly, I'm standing in the water. I was sound asleep dreaming, but I don't call this dreams. This is from God, something I do. We'll find a better descriptive word for it another time. Let's just call it a dream for now. Suddenly, I'm standing in the water where the Staten Island ferry goes all the way to Staten Island, that water. I can't remember names. And that's the same water where all the cruise ships come in. It's the main inlet to the Atlantic. The Staten Island Bridge crosses it. All right, so that's where I was. I'm standing in the water on a boat. And the boat's really old. It's like a boat from the days of Beethoven, from the days of Thomas Jefferson. And in the boat, there's these old relics, and they're all dusty, and the boat is wooden and is big. It's not this huge boat with the multiple sails from that day. It's a smaller boat, about 50 feet long, like the size of your average sailboat that fits about 6 people nowadays, but old boat. And it was your atypical Thomas Jefferson era, Beethoven era, like way old boat. And it was covered in dust. And there was objects on the boat. There was a cello. There was some musical objects. I'll never forget it. They were covered in dust. Everything was wood, and they're standing by these dusty old objects. And there was a few other objects, like a trunk, and that was covered in dust. Everything was old. The boat, and I'm on the water, and it was night, it was dark. And standing before me on the boat was this terrified looking man that looked like Beethoven, or that looks like Thomas Jefferson when you look at the pictures, dressed in the Victorian, or this, I said the wrong time era, but dressed in the old days clothes. When you look at a picture of George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, he's exactly dressed like that, and he has the hair exactly like that time era, okay, Beethoven type look to them. And I'm 23, and this is basically how I would have expressed it then. I express it the same way. I don't have a lot of English words I can recall, but this is exactly what I saw. So, and he looked terrified, and he was staring at me. He looked completely terrified. And his eyes were just staring at me. He wasn't blinking. He was a good 15 feet in front of me on the boat, standing by all these dusty objects. And he's on the pier of the boat. You know how the old boats, they have I have to draw it, the part that kind of curls up the bow. And he was standing on 15 feet in front of me and about 6 feet from the bow with all these old dusty wooden objects piled on the boat. Okay, here we are. It's nighttime. Me and this old days man who's staring me down. He's really pale and his hair is dusty and kind of stringy. It was wild. I saw this completely. I'll never forget it. And he was just staring at me, not blinking. And he had a key. This key, old days key, like you unlock any old days door or any old days piece of furniture. He had a key, and it was about 4 inches long, and he was holding it in his hand. And the key went into the water. The key went into the water first. He dropped it into the water. And we're still just looking at each other. He's staring at me. He's terrified. Okay, he's still standing on the bow. So there's a key that's in the water of this bay now outside of New York. And boat and me. And then I look up. Okay, I'm on the boat. I look up to my left. I know exactly the direction I was standing and everything. I could draw this on a picture. There's a specific direction I was standing. Let me go ahead and do that, but my green light is no, not today. I look up on the left side of me and I turn to face him. Okay, I look up and there's Satan. It's Lucifer, whatever you want to call him, okay, on your planet here. I look up and I see him, and he's over both of the World Trade Centers, hanging on with his legs wrapped around him and his arms wrapped around both of them. He's in his monster beast form. As his skin's white, his hair is red, his eyes are bulging, they're blue. It's Lucifer, what he turned into. And he's hanging on, bulging muscles. He's big monster. I'll describe it, give it better respect for how terrifying Lucifer looks, okay? Moving on. So he's almost as big as the World Trade Centers. He's about half the size of both of the World Trade Centers, and he's got his arms wrapped around him like you're hanging on a pole. If you have both your legs and your arms hanging around a pole, okay? That's how he is. And he was facing the opposite direction of me. His eyes, his face were facing that way, and I'm on the boat facing that way, and he's to my left. So I look up and I see him, and as soon as he sees me doing that, he looks right at me and he becomes terrified. And I grab that crucifix. I grabbed my crucifix that was by my bed. I didn't grab it off my bed, but I grabbed it. I had it in my hand, and I held it up to Satan. And he was so terrified of me. As soon as he saw me before I grabbed the crucifix, when I'm this way and he's that way, he looks over right at me, and he was all evil and terrifying, right? But as soon as he saw me, his face dropped, his eyes fixated, and he was just nothing but terrified. He couldn't do anything. And then when I grabbed the crucifix, I rebuked him. And all he could do was hiss and try to scare me. But I rebuked him. I killed Satan. It's part of my creation. And I'm standing on the boat, and he's just hissing and furious, okay? And he wouldn't let go of that. He wouldn't let go of the World Trade Centers. He wouldn't go off them. He wouldn't go. He was hissing. He was fighting for it. Okay, but he's so fucking scared of me. I'll never forget it. And this is some of the ways of how I concretely know that. So he was looking in the beginning like that. I'm looking that way. He looks at me, and you should have seen his face. You should have seen his face when he saw me standing there. I want to role play it. It's so real, and it's so fucking scared of me. And then presto, I had that cross, and I held it up. And I rebuked him, but he was refusing to let go of the World Trade Centers. He started hissing and hissing. Okay, there's a lot that happened after that in the dream. Okay, but then I was woken up. There was things that Satan did, things that I did. I kicked his ass, but he was not going to get off those World Trade Centers, okay? Then I was woken up by Eric. He comes not banging, let me be proper. He comes knocking. Eric used to be nice, but he wasn't apparently so nice. It was a sad part of my life. We'll talk about the real Eric, what Eric was doing with the Russian mob that I had no idea about, but it is really sad. Anyways, at that time, I did not know this. I don't think Eric even was involved with the Russian mob at that time with the World Trade Centers. Anyway, so Eric's in the front room watching his news, doing what he does in the morning. I'm sleeping in my room, okay? He comes back to my room, knocks on my door. Heidi, you need to wake up right now. Heidi, you need to see this. And he knocks a series of times to wake me up. My door is closed. I always had my door open just a little bit. I like to have my door open a little bit. So I wake up, I can hear the TV, you can hear the TV, you wake up, okay, this was happening while I was sound asleep. I wake up, I have no idea what's going on. It was, the time, Eastern and Western time zones, right before the planes were crashing into the 9/11, to the World Trade Centers, okay, like minutes before, okay? Okay, one plane had already impacted the World Trade Centers. And it was right before the second plane came, okay? And so Eric comes and knocks on my door, wakes me up. I owe him for that. Okay, Eric was a vessel of God in a lot of ways, because God is greater no matter what Eric did, no matter what Eric did. God used him as a vessel, and this is one of the times. So he woke me up, knocked on my door, told me to get up. I'm waking up, I'm all foggy. I'm like, I get up, I go out, I sit in my chair. Eric had a chair, I had a chair. There's the TV. This was our living room. My chair, Eric's chair, TV. Okay, I had a decent home. I appreciate Eric for giving me a stable home. I went to college, but let's not get sidetracked. Okay, so I'm coming to. Nobody's making coffee. We're fixated on the TV. I'm coming to. And about 10 minutes after I sit there, I watch the plane fly into the World Trade Centers. About it took everybody who remembers? 2-3 minutes. After that, I watched the World Trade Centers 1 just tumble and fall, and I watched World Trade Centers 2 fall right after it. Okay, so I knew what I had just done. I was very aware of me and Satan and my crucifix hanging on to the World Trade Centers. I was very aware of Eric waking me up. I was very aware I was waking up to watching the World Trade Centers crash and fall in piles of dust onto New York City. Okay, so that's something I need to tell you, okay? We're up to, 18 minutes. I'm going to cut it. My green light is to do a second. This, if you want to know, is 1 and 2 of New York City being bombed.